Hello, all. This is Chartered Accountant Omkar Gadgil. So we are now coming with the next video in our new series, that is on the amendments which have been brought in by way of introduction of section 16 subsection 5 in the CGST Act. Now, what is this section 16 subsection 5? So, of course, in the last few years, if I would say, सेक्शन 16(4) के केसेस के वजह से बहुत सारे लोगों का अनगिनत ऑर्डर्स, दोज ऑर्डर्स बीइंग इन अपील्स, दोज अपील्स probably now getting confirmed, etc., ये सिनेरियो था. And unfortunately, what was the case, that just because where the returns were not getting filed, or where the returns were not filed and the input tax credit was not claimed within the time limit which was mentioned under section 16(4), people were getting orders wherein the input tax credit was getting rejected. And on one side, the taxpayer was definitely feeling agitated that merely because the return was not filed within the time limit which was mentioned in the law. Now, of course, as you may remember, that 16(4) के अंदर for 17-18 there was an extended time up to 31st March 2019. That is, sorry, the return for the month of March 2019. टेक्निकली जब हमको 20th April 2019 तक का दिन अवेलेबल था. For 18-19, as such, there was no extension. It was just the normal timing scenario under 16(4), which would probably go up to 20th of October 2019. For 19-20, it was 20th October 2020, and then consequently for 21, and so on and so forth. Now, only when in the last year the amendment was made in section 16(4), wherein the standard time limit for claiming credit was considered earlier, which was earlier considered as the due date for the month of filing the return for the month of September following the end of the financial year, was then changed to 30th day of the November of 2000, 30th day of the November of the subsequent financial year. Now, of course, with in a recent judgment, the one of the honorable high courts had observed that this 2021 date, which was extended, or which was rather amended now under section 16 subsection 4, if that would have been in the earlier year also, probably the taxpayer would have got some relief. And keeping in mind those judgments, as well as keeping in mind the hardships faced by the taxpayer, there was a very welcoming move made by the government. And when the budget 2024, the final budget of 2024, which was announced, this particular amendment saw the light of the day, that section 16 subsection 4, the due demands which were outstanding under section 16 subsection 4, were given a true relief by giving one time sort of an extension of date for claiming the date for claiming the credit for the period 2017-18, 2017-18 से लेके 2020-21. That is, for the period 2017 to 2020-21, there was one comprehensively set up date considered, that is 30th November 2021. What it specifically meant to say was, if a taxpayer has to claim the valid input tax credit for any tax period starting from July 2017 to March 2021, ये कोई भी मंथ का टैक्स रिटर्न क्रेडिट अगर टैक्स पेयर को एलिजिबल चाहिए, and if such input tax credit has been claimed by the taxpayer in any of the GST returns filed by November 30th 2021, in such case, all such input tax credits which have been claimed through the GSTR 3B returns filed by the taxpayer will be considered as valid. Means, from the tax period July 2027 to March 2021, for all these months, if the taxpayer has a claim of input tax credit which earlier probably had got denied because of the late filing of a return, now section 16 subsection 5 was introduced to cover that relief, saying that for any of the tax period July 2017 से लेके March 2021 तक, for all such tax periods, the input tax credit eligibility claiming date will be 30th November 2021. Means, through any GSTR 3B return, if the tax credit has been claimed, then that will be considered as the valid credit. And of course, this is definitely this move was a welcoming one. Now, particularly, I refrain from calling it as an amnesty per se, because here slightly the modus is different with vis-a-vis what we saw in 128A introduction of section 128A, which was purely like an amnesty, wherein you pay the tax but you're going to get the relief from interest and penalty. Here it is sort of an amnesty, but not specifically mentioned as an amnesty per se, but it is sort of a relief which is given, which is consequently on the lines of an amnesty only. Now let us read through the provisions of section 16 subsection 5, and well, I am aware that the amendment has been made by introduction of section 16 subsection 6 as well. However, this video I wanted to focus purely on 16 subsection 5 कि जहाँ पे लेट फाइलिंग ऑफ रिटर्न्स के वजह से अगर क्रेडिट डिनाई हुआ हो तो हम लोग को रिलीफ कैसे मिलेगा एंड मिलना चाहिए एंड उसके लिए व्हाट इज द प्रोसीजर टू बी फॉलोड. दैट इज व्हाट दिस पर्टिकुलर वीडियो इज अबाउट. Now let us see what section 16 subsection 5 offers to tell us. Notwithstanding anything contained in section 16 subsection 4 in respect of an invoice or a debit note for supply of goods or services or both pertaining to the financial year 1718 to the financial year 2021, comma, the registered person shall be entitled to the input tax credit in any return under section 39 which is filed up to 30th day of November 2021. So friends, now why I am saying that this is very important to note that it particularly says that any return, okay, any return which has been filed by 30th of November 2021, I mean the credit is claimed in any of the returns filed by this particular date. Now my pure purpose of discussing this point is that what it particularly is trying to say is that for this tax period, okay, for this tax period you may have claimed the input tax credit through any return. Means पॉसिबली दैट फॉर जुलाई 2017 से लेके मान के चलो अगस्त 2018 तक आपने सब नील रिटर्न्स फाइल कर दिए, but you realize your mistake and say in the month of July 2019 you clubbed all the input tax credit till that day and had complete and comprehensively claimed it. Of course, during the regular scrutinies, the ASMD 10s, etc., your credit might have got denied, and consequently that may be standing as an order today of recovery. But what they are saying is that notwithstanding anything contained in 16.4, for any invoice or a debit note for the period 1718 financial year 1718 से लेके March 2021 तक, the registered person shall be entitled to the input tax credit in any return under section 39 which is filed up to 30th day of November 2021. So there is only you can say that there is a comprehensive relief which has been given, which is on a very large basis, because this is going to help the taxpayer to prove the innocence, and the credibility of the credit is now going to get good, which was probably getting considered, or his credibility was tarnished as bad because he had filed the returns late. So this is something what section 16 subsection 5 is trying to introduce. Now what happened is, this amendment was definitely, if we can say, this amendment was definitely made in the, I mean, which is definitely made and inserted from July, I mean, this since budget 2024 was introduced. However, there was a issue because the bill was passed, then the bill had to get, the bill had to get passed in the parliament, and the bill had to get converted into an act. And till that time, there were the assessment and adjudication ongoing for the financial year 1920. For the 1718, 1819, it had already got completed. For 2021, the notices have already been issued. And so, in this midpoint, there was a necessity that there has to be some structure to claim the relief under section 16(5). Because kya hua tha, that in lot of cases, even in my cases, when we were going to the department and requesting that, okay, now we have an amendment which has been proposed in the Finance Act. Since this amendment is now making us eligible to claim the credit, then we should not be denied this input tax credit. But the officers had a stand which is considerate enough, and to be very honest, that they were definitely not wrong. उनका कहना था कि we do not have any circular or a notification in place जो कि हमें ये एलिजिबिलिटी दे दैट हम लोग ऐसे वाले सिचुएशंस को एग्री करके एक्सेप्ट करके ये सब डिमांड्स जो है वो ड्रॉप कर दें. एंड rightfully so, they in their right were they in their capacity were absolutely right to deny making these reliefs, and therefore even after the budget announcement was made also, there were some orders passed confirming the liability under 16(4). At the same time, I would also say that in couple of appeal cases, we have got a relief wherein the respected commissioner, the commissioner appeals, they have taken the cognizance of this introduction of section and very well dropped the proceedings under 16(4) which had initiated for the similar reasons. Now, friends, here I would want to make one thing very clear. If we are trying to get any benefit under section 16 subsection 5, one, that input tax credit related dispute, whether the input tax credit is good or bad, it is eligible or ineligible, whether it is for defaulting suppliers, dealer cancelled suppliers, etc. Does this mean that this Midas touch is going to convert every credit as a good credit? The answer is no. This provision is specifically taking care of only a scenario where the credit was denied on account of late filing of section 16, I mean the late filing of GSTR 3B returns beyond the permissibility period of claiming credit under 16(4). Means ये आपको ऐसा naturally कोई मिडास टच से या ऐसे कोई जादू से आपके बाकी के ineligibilities गायब नहीं होने वाले. This provision of section 16(5) has a limited purview, has a limited connotation only to state that if at all the input tax credit claim was denied due to late filing of returns, then now for this particular tax period 17-18 से लेके 2021, there is one comprehensive date of claiming of credit, that is 30th November 2021. So friends, outrightly one thing we need to accept, that this provision does not make your currently alleged bad credit as good credit by any means. This is purely for taking care of the timelines. Fine. So I hope that this point is relatively clear. Now, what happened is that from August, we were awaiting that, okay, there has to be some procedure. And since, as I said, that there were few orders passed, there was a sense of, again, panicky amongst the taxpayer that, okay, sir, आपने तो बोला था कि ये amendment आया है, but what now? We are still getting calls from the department. There is still recovery. There is still possibly a recovery being made by bank attachment, etc., etc. And so now, at the as I said earlier, that yes, the GST officers were definitely right in their capacity because they didn't have anything concrete to say that okay, this demand should be dropped by voluntary act. Now on 8th of October 2024, we had the first notification. I mean, we had this first notification being introduced, notification number 22 by 2024, Central Tax. This notification has brought in the first aspect, that is the clarity in regard to this aspect has brought about the implementation of section 16 subsection 5. So the notification issued on 8th of October, notification number 22 oblique 2024, Central Tax. We are now going to refer the relevant part of this notification which is necessary for 16.5. Now what it says is that by virtue of provisions of section 148 as under which this entire amendment was placed, what it says is, on the recommendation of council hereby notifies the following special procedure. Now what the words are used over here, following special procedure for rectification. Now it is saying that following special procedure for rectification of order. Now here what they are trying to say, if there were any orders issued under section 73 or 74 or appellate orders 107 or revisionary order 108 के अंदर कोई भी order issue किया गया था जिसमें आपका input tax credit deny किया है on the grounds of 16 subsection 4. So only in this specific scenario where your credit was denied under 16 subsection 4, and if there is some order which has been passed under section 73 or under section 74 or under section 107 or 108, then the input tax credit in respect of such transactions will be eligible to you. So what they said, that there is a procedure which is being laid down which is going to ensure that there will be a rectification of an order to be followed under these provisions. Now what it says is that there will be a rectification order which has to be passed confirming the demand for against the demand which was there for confirming the input the wrongful availment of input tax credit on account of contravention of provision of 16.4. But where such input tax credit is now available under 16.5, I am now, as I said, limiting my discussion only to 16 subsection 5. So अभी ये लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं that what this notification is taking care of, let's keep 16 subsection 6 aside, we are only focusing on 16.5. What this provision is saying, what bigger pardon, what this notification is saying is कि अगर आपका कोई ऐसा सिनेरियो है जहां पे आपका ऑर्डर इशू हो चुका था, where the order was issued under 73 or 74 or appeal order under 107, the revisionary order 108, and अगर वो ऑर्डर इशू हुआ है टू कंफर्म द डिमांड arising for non-compliance of section 16 subsection 4, then for such particular cases they have introduced this provision 16.5, where this particular notification is now going to give us the direction as to what procedure is required to be followed in such case. Now what do they say is that ये rectification के लिए आपको application करना पड़े. So the said person shall file electronically on the common portal within the period of 6 months from the date of issuance of this notification. Now, when was this notification issued? 8 October 2024. So it is November, December, January, February, March, April. That is technically the date will be 8 April, but please do not wait to file your rectification applications by till the month of April. You can might as well file it before. Now, friends, once again, I am for the sake of repetition, I am just mentioning that this rectification application is explicitly meant for a claim which was made against the taxpayer for confirming demand on the grounds of 16 subsection 4. यदि सिर्फ उस पर्पस के लिए आपके पास अभी जो 16.5 के तहत नया टाइमलाइन दिया गया है फॉर क्लेमिंग द क्रेडिट, एंड इफ यू हैव बीन गिवन द एलिजिबिलिटी टू क्लेम द क्रेडिट, एंड इफ यू हैव सच confirmed order, and if you want that confirmed order to be dropped or rectified to that effect, then हम लोग ये application move करेंगे electronically within a period of 6 months from the end of this from the date of this notification, that is by April 8th. So I hope that the category is very clear. Now what they say further is that the proper officer shall carry out, so said person along with the said application upload the information in pro forma in annexure A. That annexure A format has been given below. So primarily now what is going to happen, now you don't need to go and pay anything separately. You don't need to go and make any changes per se in whatever has been submission made by you till now. Now the only thing is going to happen is that okay, now that credit has become a valid credit, so your demands need to drop. So as a taxpayer, it is our duty to file an application so that there is a rectification order passed against those orders which have already been confirmed against the taxpayer. So now that rectification application would be made. Now, what that rectification application should state ideally is okay, for what grounds the tax, for what grounds the tax was confirmed. If it was 16.4, and now since the taxpayer has actually filed the returns by 30th of November claiming all this credit, then he should be entitled for it. So this is the sort of application that you are going to make to the officer to make a claim for a valid input tax credit, or rather which has now become a valid input tax credit. Now, what they're saying is that where any rectification is required to be made in the order referred to in paragraph 1, and the said authority has issued a rectified order, then the said authority shall upload the summary of rectified orders electronically in form so and so DRC 08, or अगर appeal वाला case है तो APL 04. Fair enough. The rectification is request to be made only in respect of demands which are covered under 16.4, as I already mentioned it earlier. Where such order rectification adversely affects the said person, the principle of natural justice shall be followed by the authority carrying out such rectification. Now what they are trying to say is that rectification application आपको ही adversely affect कर रहा है. Now friends, here I would like to take a minute to discuss what can be a possibility otherwise. Suppose your earlier adjudication was not limited to only 16.4 claim. Your adjudication had a multiple aspects, including the 16.4 case. So what they are saying is that here, if due to the application being made under this rectification mechanism, if that application is going to cause, or this rectification is going to cause any loss to the taxpayer. Loss in the sense what? Means that the principles of being principle of being heard, opportunity of being heard should be followed. If the taxpayer raises an alarm that no boss, this rectification is affecting me, this rectification is going to cause a further problem to me because of this so and so reason. Now of course, since it may differ from taxpayer to taxpayer, I'm not covering any specific per se. Now, this is the format of Annexure A. That is the format, the form which is to be uploaded within 6 months from the date of this 8th of October invoice, I mean notification. Now, here if you see, you have to mention just the details of the demand order with respect to these years. Okay. Whereas on the other side, the detail, I mean, on the amount mentioned in table 2 above, the detail of demand confirmed in the said order of the input tax rate on account of 16.4, which is now eligible under 16.5. So there what we are going to say that okay, what was not eligible earlier and now what has become eligible, we are putting it up as a part of this. Now this declaration, undertaking, etc., once you are done with this, of course you're going to upload it. So I think there is nothing further per se what this notification says. बट बिकॉज 8 अक्टूबर 2024 को ये नोटिफिकेशन आया, उसके टाइम पे, उसके जस्ट 2 दिन पहले पॉसिबली सब लोग जो मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल आर tax professional, they must have finished up with their tax audit and now they suddenly get, oh boom, okay, there is something called as a notification which is issued. But ये notification issue करने के बाद in fact there were unfortunately some sort of clarity is required, or there were some sort of questions which were still unanswered, and therefore to formally clarify the position of the lawmakers in such case, in lawmakers in this particular case, they introduced this circular on number 237 by 31 2024 on the date of 15th of October 2024. Now what this circular is, that is clarifying the issues for implementation of 16 subsection 5. As I said, I am not covering 16 subsection 6 on purpose. Now, what this, so of course, see, we are not really inclined to read the entire section through it. One important point, what we are, so the upper, these points are exactly same what we have already discussed. Now, one important point over here is, if some taxpayer during the course of audit or adjudication has already paid the input tax credit amount for this 16 for default, मीन्स उस बंदे ने ऑलरेडी 16.4 के तहत जो भी डिमांड आता था उसको पे कर दिया था. Unfortunately, there is no refund mechanism, even though that input tax credit liability would not have, existed today had this amnesty, I mean, had this relief provision or this rectification provision been introduced. So, for those who have paid the taxes, there is absolutely no room for claiming any refund anymore. That is very much been clarified. Some may have done this payment through reversal of credit. तो उनके जहन में रहेगा, अरे ये रिवर्सल तो हमने कर दिया, बट nobody has come to, I mean, nobody has really held us for this reversal. We can just reclaim that credit. That also will not be permitted. So if at all it is gone forever. Simple as that. Now they have introduced this circular to cover the scenarios which may possibly exist, which of course people had brought to the notice that okay, the principal notification 22 by 2024 was not covering all those aspects. Now first thing is that when no demand or notice has been or statement has been issued under section 73 or 74, can that person, means जिसका ऑर्डर नहीं बना, बिकॉज देखो प्राइमरी जो नोटिफिकेशन 8/2024 है उसमें ये सब चीजें कवर नहीं हुई है, इसीलिए तो सर्कुलर लाया गया है टू टेक केयर ऑफ दिस एग्जैक्टली थिंग. When no demand or notice statement has been issued under section 73 or 74, means no order is passed, demand is not made, means show cause has not been issued. Now, in such case also, whether that person will be entitled for this claim of the benefits under 16.5, the answer is yes. Despite the fact that otherwise there was, I mean, despite the fact otherwise there were some reasons for this, they are being very clear that where there is no demand notice or statement has been issued, that means a case where only the show cause notice was served or show cause notice was issued, or probably there was only a basic investigation under ASMT 10, etc. What they are saying is that the taxpayer shall be entitled to avail the input tax credit under provision of section 16 subsection 5 of the CGST Act 2017. Now please understand that if there is a benefit which is to be claimed under this, if there is any benefit which is to be claimed under this, then that is of course that where you really had cases or concerns of 16.4, and if that is getting covered, then definitely this is something that you're going to look forward to do even before closing on the order. Second category, where the demand notice or statement under 73 or 74 has been issued but order is not issued, means हम लोग का SCN confirm हो गया था, we filed an appeal, okay, where the demand notice or statement under 73 or 74 has been issued but no order under 73 has been issued. So beg your pardon, I'm going, this appeal wala thing we'll just cover in a while. Second category is that SCN was issued but order was not issued. In such case, the adjudicating authority shall take the cognizance of 16 subsection 5 and inserted retrospectively with effect from 1st 7 2017 and pass the appropriate order under 73 or 74. Means करंटली पहला पोजीशन हमने पहला सिचुएशन देखा कि आपके पास कोई डिमांड नहीं है, नोटिस नहीं है, and there was no notice issued by the department. Now here we are saying that no, there is a notice which has been issued but it has not yet got converted into an order. Third, where an order under 73-74 has been issued and appeal has been filed but with the appellate authority, but no order under 107 has been issued. Means what? कि आपने adjudication order के against appeal file किया हुआ है, but that appeal is just lying as it is, there is no change in it. Now, in such case, the appellate authority shall take the cognizance of 16(5)s and inserted retrospectively with effect from 1st July 2017 and pass the appropriate order under 107, that is in case of appeals. Now, what is the next one? Where the order under 73 or 74 of the CGST Act has been issued and the RA has initiated the proceedings under 108, but no order under 108 of the CGST Act has been issued by the revisional authority. Means this is in case of the revisional authority of the 108. Now what they are saying is that the RA shall take the cognizance of 16(5) and retrospectively with effect from 1/1/17 है करके pass the appropriate order. Where the order under 73-74 has been issued but no appeal against the said order has been filed, authority or where the order is filed has been issued or 108 has been issued by the appellate authority or revisionary authority but no appeal against the said order has been filed has been filed with the appellate tribunal. Now, what particularly they are saying is that in such case where any other person, where any other section 73 or 74 or 107, 108 has been issued confirming the demand for wrong availment of input tax credit in contravention of 16(4), but where input tax credit is now available as per the provisions of subsection 5 or subsection 5, where the appeal against the said order has not been filed. द कंसर्न ऑफिसर, सो यहाँ पे हम लोग का जो कैटेगरीज कवर हो रहा है वो ये है कि भाई एससीएन इशू ही नहीं हुआ है, एससीएन इशू नहीं हुआ है एंड पॉसिबली देयर इज अ डिमांड व्हिच इज बीइंग क्रिएटेड, या फिर एससीएन इशू हो चुका था, द एससीएन वाज इशूड बट द ऑर्डर वाज नॉट इशूड, ऑर्डर इज इशूड और इट इज लाइंग इन द अपील. In either of the cases, we are entitled for this relief claiming mechanism. Now, let's see. Now this particular Annexure A, as I mentioned that Annexure A has to be filed within 6 months from the date of this 8th of October notification. आपने ये Annexure A में rectification के application देने के बाद that rectification application is going to undergo a scrutiny, a thorough check. So now, why so? Because one may take the one may take the benefit of this rectification application and try to, as I said, make his otherwise input tax credits which were having problem, he may try to make suddenly that amount as a correct input tax credit, which should not happen. So this particular thing has been done. So this Annexure A has multiple points, and as I said that after filing for the rectification, there is still still a possibility that your rectification application might get denied, and against that, if it is getting denied, then the order is being passed as denied. Then again, that order you are still allowed to file a appeal. You are still allowed to file an appeal. So of course, now one may be thinking, what for appeal? This may be considered as the uh, relevant date for determining. So that is how it is going to be in particular. Now, ये आपका जो application rectification का जाएगा, that has to be ensured that it is going with a backed up with the calculations which you are able to prove if at all you are called in for inquiry, and most importantly that whenever these sort of applications are made, and whenever there is a possibility that that the promoter is, I mean, where particularly the application or rectification has been made, but the application is not acceptable to the authority who is scrutinizing the same, उसने अगर रिजेक्ट किया तो भी आपके पास एक दरवाजा खुला रहता है कि आप कभी भी, जब तक वो कभी भी चाहे, if at all your rectification is giving negative, you are still free to file an appeal. That is not a problem. Now, if the rectification adversely affects the person, then the principle of natural justice should be followed by the said proper office. Now, of course, what they are saying is that when the rectification adversely affects the taxpayer. So, as said, of course, they are supposed to tell the government that okay, there was an incorrect calculation. So, friends, now basis this, what we need to keep it in mind is that whenever there is, I mean, when these particular notifications have come, the first thing that is required is that to be read in a comprehensive manner, absolutely in a comprehensive manner. Now, we would like to discuss, I mean, we would like to really thank this. I mean, we really like to thank CBIC because firstly, the circulars and the notification in itself has reduced so much of pains what the taxpayer was facing, and therefore we would like to take your leave for the while. So for the next set of discussion, we'll again meet on this YouTube channel on this video. Until then, try to get your 16.5 transactions cleared. But as I said, that most importantly what is relevant to notice, that this does not change the good or bad credit that you otherwise have with you. That still remains as it is. All right. So friends, I think based on this 16.5 discussion, then the circular number 237, and prior to that we discussed about how this particular transaction is going to go through, and most importantly, this also has a point for rejection of the rectification application, as already stated earlier. So, based on the above, friends, I would like to sign off. Thank you so much for a patient listening, and we look forward for more videos and more discussion with you. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Jai Hind. Take care.